In the world of business and management, there are a few individuals who stand out as true visionaries, whose ideas and insight have shaped industry and inspired countless leaders. Today, we turn our attention to one such luminary, C.K. Prahalad, a management guru whose contributions continue to influence businesses around the globe. Who is C.K. Prahalad? C.K. Prahalad, or Coimbatore Krishnaro Prahalad, was an Indian-American business professor, consultant, and author, renowned for his groundbreaking work in the field of strategic management and corporate governance. Prahalad's theory and frameworks have not only transformed the way we think about business, but also how organizations approach innovation and competitiveness. Prahalad's ideas were instrumental in shifting the focus from a company-centric view to a customer-centric perspective. His concept of core competence emphasizes the importance of leveraging an organization's unique strengths to gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Prahalad argued that sustainable success comes from identifying and nurturing core competencies within an organization. These competencies are the collective knowledge, skills, and capabilities that set a company apart and enable it to deliver superior value to its customer.
In 1990, two academics named C.K. Prahalad and Gary Hamel wrote an article titled The Core Competence of the Corporation. They argued that success in business comes from combining technological ability with organizational skills. They called this combined approach core competence. It involves working across organizational boundaries and coordinating diverse skills and multiple technologies to gain a competitive edge. It was in stark contrast to the old-style approach, focused on the strategic business unit and decisions on what products to make. Prahalad and Hamel believed it was developing key areas of expertise that made a company stand out. And that, they said, would more likely result in business success.
Another influential concept introduced by Prahalad was the bottom of the pyramid. He believed that businesses should not ignore the vast potential of the world's poorest populations as consumers. Prahalad encouraged companies to develop innovative and affordable products and services to meet the needs of this underserved market, creating win-win situation for both businesses and the poorest.
When we talk about the economic pyramid here, what exactly do we mean? The World Economic Pyramid can be said to have 4 tiers, Tier 1 to Tier 4, depicting different levels of consumers with different degrees of spending power. Tier 1 would have the most affluent consumers who form the minority, followed by Tier 2 and Tier 3, which have consumers from upper and middle income backgrounds. Most large-scale manufacturers and MNCs generally target these 2 tiers of consumers in order to maximize profits. This leaves Tier 4 consumers with lower spending power, largely ignored. A significant point to be noted here is that a majority of consumers lie in Tier 4, which composes up to roughly 2/3 of the world's population. The traditional reasoning behind ignoring Tier 4 consumers has been because of their low spending power. However, recent studies have shown that there lie a number of shortcomings in such reasoning. Firstly, the sheer number of people in Tier 4 of the economic pyramid is massive. So what does this imply for manufacturers and MNCs? Recent estimates have shown that the informal economies among the poor in developing countries account for 40 to 60% of economic activities in these countries. Further, Since a large number of Tier 4 consumers are poor, they generally do not hold titles or deeds to their assets and have little to no formal education. These factors are especially important when you understand that the large amount of empirical data on the actual spending power of Tier 4 consumers has been unavailable, and the market potential just beginning to be seen here may as well be just the tip of the iceberg. This means that there is a highly probable chance that manufacturers just may have overlooked one of the largest potential opportunities until now. The buck doesn't stop here either. In addition to just massive market opportunities, there is also a growing need to focus on Tier 4 consumers. Consider for a moment the large-scale environmental degradation that our country has suffered due to rapid industrialization over the past century. Harmful practices that have already been adopted are harder to stop now due to the large sunk costs and investments involved. Tier 4 economies are now rapidly developing and have the potential to do so on a scale far more massive than already developed economies due to their large populations. This means that this is the ideal opportunity to adopt sustainable practices and avoid the mistake made by MNCs in the past. Adoption of sustainable practices now would also mean that successful implementation of such practices could shift world economies eastward into developing countries.
Prahalad's work also delved into the intersection of innovation and strategy. He advocated for a proactive approach to innovation, where companies anticipate and shape future market needs, rather than simply reacting to them. According to Prahalad, innovation should be seen as an ongoing process embedded within an organization's culture, rather than a one-time event.
If you look at the four driving forces, in addition to globalization, for the first time in human history, 3 billion people are connected. In 5 years, people expect 4 billion people to be connected. That's going to make a big difference to how companies operate. The second, digital technologies are becoming extremely inexpensive. For example, the cell phone is only the starting point, that you can get a cell phone for $30. But you can also get 16 gigabits of memory in USB for less than $20. So the costs are going down dramatically. And this means technology does not differentiate any longer between the rich and the poor. The poorest people can have exactly the same technology as the rich have. Maybe less bells and whistles, but the same technology. The cell phone is just the starting point. And then there is convergence of technologies. The cell phone is a phone, it's a computer, it's a map, it's a watch, it's a camera. So all these technologies and businesses are coming together. And finally, I think social networks are becoming extremely important, like Facebook, MySpace. So if you take these four drivers, connectivity, digital technologies, certainly convergence of technologies and industries, and social networks, coupled with globalization, it's going to fundamentally create new opportunities and new ways to compete. So the substance of the book assumes these driving forces and then asks the question, how would the poor and the rich markets change dramatically, and therefore how do we create value? That is the core substance of the book.
One of Prahalad's most influential books, The Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, challenged traditional notions of poverty and presented a compelling argument for businesses to actively engage with the underserved communities. He believed that by addressing the needs of the poor, businesses could not only make a positive social impact, but also tap into a vast untapped market potential.
The starting point for large companies has been poor people are not my responsibility. It's the responsibility of the government and NGOs and aid, both international and domestic. Then they said, we cannot totally disengage. We have to do something. It's called CSR. Give money to some NGO let them do some good work, we get some credit for it, but I don't want to go near it. Then you go to the third phase where they say, maybe there is a market opportunity here. I can experiment at the margin but keep it separate. And then moving on to innovate and transfer that knowledge across the world. Take, for example, GE. They produce EKG machines, and they're one of the largest in the world in medical systems. In the United States, you get an EKG machine, which typically is about 60 pounds or 65 pounds in weight, but $10,000. It's an old technology. So somebody in Jack Welch Laboratories in Bangalore said, why can't we produce one for rural use in India, for rural doctors who travel from village to village? So as soon as you think that way, when you come to three requirements, one, it must be light. Nobody's going to carry 65 pounds. Number two, it must be battery operated because electricity is not guaranteed. And the third, the people who look at your EKG in the village may or may not be able to make a full diagnosis. So you may want to get expert help remotely. So what do? They create a product which is 3 pounds in weight with a printer attached so you can read the EKG, totally portable, and it is also connected to wireless so that it is networked and somebody sitting 1,000 miles away can see it simultaneously and give you an idea on what to do with that patient. $800. Now it's been approved for sale in Europe and also here in the United States. So it may sell here for $2,000. But think about the difference.
Prahalad's groundbreaking theories and ideas continue to shape the way businesses operate and approach strategic decision-making. His legacy as a management guru lives on, inspiring leaders to think differently, embrace innovation, and create value for all stakeholders. Thank you for joining us as we explored the remarkable contribution of C.K. Prahalad, a true visionary whose ideas continue to transform the world of business.